depending on what messages wanted to be shared, like with that person, it would depend on what planet would step forward, because like each planet in astrology represents like an archetype. I would find like I would just open up, and whatever planet wanted to come for that person would come through, and then it would usually be messages.
Hey everybody, it's Tanya here. I'm so excited to share Women Working with Light. It is a series of interviews with women from around the world who are doing what they love in service to themselves and to others. They are our healers, light workers, way showers, starseeds, artists, channelers, and so much more. In today's episode, I am speaking with Kate Shantz, who has a really unique form of channeling. She actually speaks with the planets. She's also a medium and an astrologer, and we have a great discussion all about the awakening process and all of the work that she's doing. Hey everybody, it's Tanya here. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the YouTube video. Today, I'm really excited to have a guest that I've been looking forward to talking to for quite a while. This is Kate Shantz. Hi, Kate. Welcome to the podcast, and nice to have you here.
Hi, Tanya. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
So today we're going to have all sorts of twists and turns in our conversation. I can already feel it, and I'm really looking forward to hearing about your really interesting take on channeling, which is something I have heard of no one else doing, and that is channeling the planets. So I cannot wait to get there. But first, I'm going to just give you a little intro here. So if you guys haven't met Kate before, she is an intuitive astrologer, a galactic channel, a cosmic connector, and a guide. And I am really excited to hear about your journey and where you're at and the things that you're doing now. So maybe share with everybody a bit about where you've come from and where you're at now.
You know, because you often, like, you'll sometimes hear people say, like, you know, I had this like moment and I just like woke up, right? Like maybe something happened or something in their lives or whatever. But I think for me, I think I actually spent my whole life waking up. I remember being a child, and I remember like having visits from like people who had passed over in my family, like, you know, at the foot of my bed. Like I remember talking to like the spiders and talking to the birds and picking the spiders up and just holding them close to my face, and the caterpillars, and talking to the trees and that kind of stuff. And I always had, I guess what you would say is like a vivid imagination, which, you know, is not an imagination. It's just like, I now see, like I probably was tapping into all these different like consciousness or other lives or whatnot. When I got, you know, teenager, like older teenager, and then I'm kind of stepping out into like the working world, I just shut all of that down. And I just thought, okay, I just, you know, it's really important for me. Like, I need a good job. I need good benefits. I need, like, you know, I get my 4 weeks vacation. And like, this became really important to me that I fit in with sort of what I thought the rest of the world wanted. And that's actually been like a big part of my journey, is realizing that much of the things that I did up until about maybe 5 or so years ago were really not things that I wanted, but that I thought the world wanted from me. And I've always had, that's been a big deal for me. That's been a big wounding for me in this lifetime, feeling like I don't fit in. And so wanting to sort of find situations where I could be quote unquote normal or like everyone else. Right. So anyway, so I go off to school, and then I end up working in the corporate banking industry in human resources. And then it was in 2012, so 10 years ago, where I was doing something at work. It was like this really big project, and it was something that impacted a lot of people, like not in the greatest way. And I was traveling a lot for that. And I remember I was in the car with someone, you know, and throughout this project, like I was super stressed. My health wasn't good. Like I wasn't eating well. I never felt well. I didn't get enough sleep. I was having insomnia for the first time ever. Like I was just not in a good space. And then I remember I was in a car with someone and we were driving somewhere for lunch, and I was like in the passenger side and I was looking out the window, and all of a sudden I noticed this bird. It was a robin, and he was kind of hopping around on like different, I don't know, branches or bushes or whatever. And I don't know how to explain it. And just that for some reason, he just captured like my gaze. Like my gaze was like laser focused on him. And I was watching him and I just felt like I was seeing him for the first time ever in my life, which is not true. I mean, but what I realized in that moment is that I had spent so many years just not looking at what's going on around outside of me. Like I just took it all for granted, or like the birds weren't even there anymore. Like the trees weren't even there anymore. Like all of these things that I loved so much as a child. Yeah, it was like the blinders on and everything was gray. Like when I look back, everything was gray. And I said to the person who was driving, I said, do you ever feel like you're going through life and you just don't even like see what's going on around you anymore? And they were kind of like, oh, I don't really know. Like I could tell they were sort of like, we weren't on the same wavelength. Yeah. And so then I thought, okay. And then I just kind of went back to my day, but it was ever since that, like that planted something within me. And it seems so innocuous and it seems like something so simple, but it was like that bird was put there to speak to me again. Like I'm even just seeing him like with his wing kind of like knocking on my heart, like, hey Kate, like, okay, like we're still here. Like, remember us? Like, remember when you were so happy, like, and you were talking to us and we were connected and we were one. And we're still here. Like I'm even seeing like his little wing like waving at me now. Like it kind of that's what it felt like. And so then I ended up going away to this place called Grail Springs. I met someone who was like an intuitive. I didn't know what an intuitive was. Like I was like, but she knew so much about me. And I was like, what? I had my chakras read. They had a labyrinth there. Like all of the stuff that is like, I know so well now was like totally new to me. And so I remember coming home after that and saying to my husband, Rick, I really want to keep the feeling that I had at Grail Springs. Like I have to keep this feeling, like it's so important, like something changed in me. But then I couldn't see a way out of the life that I had built. Like I still couldn't see that another life and another world was possible, because I think I was just starting to unravel that programming. And I was still so programmed into, but this is what you do. No, like if you don't do this, like something bad will happen to you, right? Like these are like, right, the things, if you don't stick with your job, and like if you don't have the benefits, like very bad things will happen. And so it wasn't until actually a couple of years later that I finally decided to make the break, and I just walked away, because it was just my mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health just was really not good. And so I really took that time. Like, so I left in 2015. And since then, I've just been really taking that time to like go within and like focus on myself. And then all of a sudden, all of this stuff started to come online. Like suddenly, like I'm doing automatic writing. And then suddenly, like I'm seeing things, like I'm seeing little like stars like in my vision. I think there's something wrong with my eyes. I go to the eye doctor, they're like, there's nothing wrong with your eyes. And so of course I don't tell them I'm seeing stars, because I still kind of feel like, yeah, I probably shouldn't mention that. But so I'm seeing this stuff, and I'm waking up in the middle of the night and just like writing, and I don't even know what I'm writing. And then I like open it the next morning. I'm like, what? I wrote this? And it's like, no, I was channeling it, but I didn't realize it at the time. Like then relationships start to change, and I start to notice things different. And then I start looking at my ancestral healing and things that I'm carrying from that. It was in 2019 that when I was channeling, I felt the energy, and I was writing, I'm like, this is like different kind of energy. Like this feels very different to me. It was really over the last couple of years where things just really sped up for me. Like my awakening, like I just woke up to even like more stuff, like not just the spiritual side, but I think like just in terms of like how our world has been set up and the systems and all that kind of stuff. And so that was like, a whoa. And then it was actually in last summer that the planets started appearing. So in this meditation, and then all of a sudden, like Venus was there. Like, and so how they come to me, like they come to me like I see their colors. So all of a sudden I see like this pink. And I'm like, that's Venus. Like I hear Venus. And then she'll download messages to me, like they come in words, and I'll either like speak them out or write them out. But so she was my first planet that stepped forward. And for me, it was all around self-love and self-worth. I mean, that's like, those are things that I'm really working on in this lifetime. And so she was the first planet, and then or whatever. So I started like practicing with friends, and then all of a sudden it would be like, oh, Saturn's here. And he's usually kind of like, he would be kind of like a red sort of orange, or like, excuse me, or like, oh, Pluto's here. And I found that like, depending on what messages wanted to be shared, like with that person, it would depend on what planet would step forward, because like each planet in astrology represents like an archetype. So like Venus represents like love, relationships, like even money, like that kind of stuff, beautiful things. And then Saturn, he's all about like, you know, the hard work, like putting the hard work in. And then Pluto is all about like transformation and rebirth, and Mercury represents communication. So I would find like, I would just open up, and whatever planet wanted to come for that person would come through. And then it would usually be messages. Well, yeah, then it's messages around sort of what they represent. And I was getting this urge that I wanted to be a lot more intentional with connecting with my guides. Mm-hmm. Often what I was finding, like stuff would sort of like drop down like into me, or like messages, which is wonderful. Like I love that. But I was getting this urge that I wanted to more intentionally connect with them. I always knew I had like quite a few guides around me, and I always knew they were galactic. So I know that they're like my galactic guides, my galactic family. I know that they're helping me connect in with the planets. And sometimes, you know, people's like in sessions, sometimes people's other like guides might come in, like whether it's an angelic guide or someone who's passed on, like sometimes they might come in too, but predominantly it's the planets and the galactic guides that I work through that bring the messages through for people. And it does, like, it feels like home, you know, it's like the planets. Yeah. They're like, it's the galactic energy from them, but also like my galactic guides as well. Like,
so the two are working together.
The two are working together. Like they're helping me, from what I can feel, like they're helping me to bring this information through, from like the stars to earth, but also like earth to the stars. Like it feels like a back and forth kind of feels like. Even someone mentioned to me a couple of weeks ago that like someone else who I was talking to that's also a channel, they're like, it almost feels like eventually you could start connecting with like more planets, like maybe planets that like we don't even know about. But so it kind of feels like that's starting to open up. Like I feel like this intentional connection that I'm making with my guides is actually helping to open up like a lot more stuff. So it's exciting. That's just kind of like new for me. Like I feel like I'm seeing like a big expanse of like stars, like it's going to open up a lot more. But yeah, it's like they kind of work together. That's how it's coming through for me.
Well, that's what I'm really curious about, and also as a fellow channel, because I consider myself a conduit. And so for me, it took a really long time to go from that period of time where it's kind of like the door is wide open, because, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, spiritual world, you've discovered it. You open the door and it's like, please come talk to me. And there's no filters, no boundaries, and you're just letting all of this stuff come in. And so I definitely went through that for a really long time. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, I think this is maybe where this connection to this chronic lifetime illness of being exhausted all the time is coming from. And once I put that together and started creating a very clear boundaries, it rapidly changed my energy. But where I'm going with this is I'm very curious, because you're talking about being intentional. In the past, I've been intentional about who's coming through, and being very clear in my boundaries, but allowing them to bring forward whatever message they need. And I act like a conduit. I just let it flow right through. I don't censor anything. So I'm curious, what is it like to become more clear, have more clarity, more refined when you're working with all of these energies together and sort of saying, okay, I need to be very clear about this. And how is that experience for you? And are you finding it making a difference with the readings that you're doing?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. Because when I totally understand what you're saying. Like when you first start opening up to the channeling, it's very exciting. And you're like, yeah, like bring it all in, this and that. But I would find not only would I also get very tired, but it's almost like it was confusing to me or something, if that makes sense. Like it was just sort of random confusion, like obviously messages that are meant to come through, but it was very like, ah, like where do I go? Like, what do I do? I've been working mostly with my galactic family. Like I'll call on them and I'll say, okay, I'm ready. Like I'm open for any messages that you would like to share. And then it's kind of cool because so I can see them, but I can't see faces. Like it's just like their forms, like they're very like skinny bodies and like, but there's no faces. But at the same time, when I call them and I say, okay, what messages do you have for me? I see them all rushing towards me with big, I can see smiles. Like that's all I can see. And they're just so excited. Like it's the cutest thing. Like it really feels like really cute, supportive energy because I feel like they're like, oh, she's calling on us. Okay, yeah, like we're here. Like, and they're like suddenly there, right? And then all the words start coming through. And so I find that it's almost like before when it was all kind of like rushing through, now I find the words come through more slowly to me. Like they're just their cadence is more slow. It feels like it's getting stronger to me now. Like I can feel a stronger like tether between us or something. And what I've also been finding is I've been retreating more inward as I've been doing this, but I don't feel alone. My galactic family's there, like the planets, like they're there. Like, I don't know if you find that as a channel too, like you feel like you never feel alone because they're there with you. So I've been finding I've actually been retreating more inward. And I think that's actually helping a lot because there's less outside noise. So it can be like you were saying, like, I love that word conduit, like more of a clear conduit with the, like the information and the messages that they're sharing.
I've never heard of anybody else doing and connecting with the energy of the planets in the way you are. I've heard of people with more of an astrological bend to it, but not the planets as a personality or as a directed energy source. So two-part question. So the first is, do they present almost like a complete personality? And the second question is, are you simply channeling, not simply, but are you connecting with the planets of our solar system that are the ones that most people know about, or are you connecting in with, because we know that there's more in our solar system and of course outside. So yeah, those are big questions, but let's just see where it goes.
Great questions. So yes, so I definitely, like when I connect with the planets, they do have like, they feel like a personality to me. Like they feel like Venus feels very loving, like mother energy, like a big hug. Like she feels like a big hug when she comes in. And then with Saturn, he feels very like no nonsense and to the point, and like this is what you need to do. And like it's kind of like a bit different from Venus. And Mercury's energy, he's really fun. He just feels like fun, like he's having a good time. And he's like, I'm seeing him like zipping around all over the place. Like he almost feels like kind of like a young energy to me in a way. Like he's just, yeah, he's having a good time. And then Pluto, like I always see Pluto as like a purple kind of energy. And I mean, Pluto, like he's the planet of like death and rebirth and transformation, like the phoenix rising, like that kind of stuff. So it can be very like, I mean, I love that kind of stuff. Like I love like going deep. So, which is like, yeah, like, right. Like
yeah.
it's the best. Like, isn't that the best when you can find something to like go deep on? Like, I love that kind of stuff. But he's like actually a very, like, he feels like a grandfather to me. Like, he feels like, even though like he talks about serious things, like, he's a very, like, to me, his personality and energy feels very grandfather like a grandfather kind of like sitting in his chair, like almost like your chair, like not that I can see, but the big chair, right? Like just kind of sitting there and just like sharing his wisdom, but in like a loving way. And then we've got Jupiter, and he's like the energy of like like he always comes in and talks about like expansion and like it's like good things opening up and that kind of stuff. And he kind of feels like a younger energy too, like almost like a teenager. And then we've got Uranus, and he's the planet of like sudden change. And he feels, Uranus energy feels very galactic to me. I mean, the Aquarius sign is ruled by Uranus, and Aquarius is all about like technology and, you know, community and that kind of stuff.
It's such an entire world of information.
Yeah.
And with its ability to connect the past, and I wouldn't say it's predictive, but it's very interesting that it has alignment with so many people.
Yeah.
And so when you wrap that together with the solar system and all of the things that are going on, not just the planets, but all the galactic bodies, you know, all the stars and all the information and energy that is in between. I love to see how it comes forward, and people that get these types of readings find that they're very, like almost a container to go, oh yeah, okay, I think I have a bit of understanding on what's going on and some potentials that I could go into. And it's almost like a sense of comfort, I think. And yes. So that's why I'm really fascinated hearing about all the different personalities and seeing all the traits that come here and there and how they all work together. And
self-learning, like on my own, because it was really interesting to me. And then, but then it started to come in this different way, like this channeling way with the planets. Like it became something so different than what I thought it was going to be. Like I thought, okay, I'm just learning like the ins and outs of astrology, and okay, this is in my 12th house and that's what this means. And you know, and I still love learning about that. Like kind of cool. Like you just never know. Like I could never have imagined that this would start to happen, where like all of a sudden the planets are like appearing. Like I had no idea. And I know you asked about too, like other planets, and that's actually something I'm excited about, because it started out like my channeling with the core planets, which are like the core planets that are used in like Western astrology. Mm-hmm. But I've been connecting lately in with Sirius, and I've been getting channeled messages from Sirius. And what's actually been really cool with the information that's coming through from him, I don't know, he just feels like a him to me. I mean, I know we have Sirius A, Sirius B, but it feels very Christ consciousness to me, like that energy that's coming through. And I've actually like, I actually had a dream. Sirius was in my dream the other, like last week, and my dog Briar and I, because I know that my soul originated from Sirius, and I know that hers did too. Like my dog's, like she's like my furry soulmate. So anyway, we were in a field, and there, all of a sudden I look up and there's Sirius, but he's got like a big cross over him. And then this cross started to like slowly come down to me, and I held out my hands, and then like I put it to my heart. And I just feel like he's been here to share a lot of messages with me about this whole idea of Christ consciousness coming back online. I feel like for humanity, and it's more of like a consciousness that is being, as more and more people wake up, like I'm seeing it kind of like enter into our heads like a golden stream. And I've been feeling it around me so much, this Christ consciousness, like, but really around the piece around unconditional love and loving ourselves and healing ourselves and being one and brothers and sisters with each other and that kind of thing, which is, I can't even believe that I'm even talking about this, because I don't think it, now I understand it's not the teachings that I was rejecting. It wasn't his teachings. It was the systems, I think, you know, like just the systems and the way they were set up. And I think there's past life wounding there probably as well.
So when it comes to the galactic energy, the different planets that you're working with, do you feel a connection between them and the galactic beings that are sort of becoming more into the forefront of our collective consciousness, like the Pleiadians or the Andromedans or the Orions or Sirians, of course? Do you feel that connection, or is that something that's maybe, well, I'll just leave it there. Do you feel the connection?
Yeah, I do. Like, I actually, when you were talking about that, they showed me an image of they're all dancing together in the sky. Like, they're all like, I'm hearing cohesive, and they're dancing like around each other. And I'm hearing like the dance of life, like the dance of life here to help humanity. Like, and I'm seeing like actually these tethers between them all, but they're like made up of stars. It's just, beautiful. It looks really beautiful. So yeah, I mean, again, I've never really like thought about that, or it's never really came to me until now when you said it. And that's what they're like, that's what I'm seeing, that they're all dancing together. They're working together. Like, it's very loving feeling to me too. Like, I don't know if you get that feeling, but it really feels like with the galactic energy, and, you know, I'm including the planets whenever I say that, but it's like, they just really want to help. Like, it's really want to help us. Like,
yeah, there's so much love that comes through.
Yes,
it's
so
incredible.
So much love. Like, they love us so much. You know, it's so beautiful, like how much they love us and for how long, and that they've been helping us for so long. Like you said, thousands and thousands, like so long they've been here helping us, and they just love us so much. And they know that we can do it. Like, they know that we can do whatever we need to do and get through whatever we need to do. And they're just like, I just feel so happy to be connected with them, because they changed my life. Like, I don't know if you found the same thing with them, but they've changed my life. Like, it's amazing. It's like emotional.
Yeah, I mean, it's in those moments of connection, your energy is in a very similar frequency. And how can you not become affected and become part of it? Because you are literally blending your energy fields, just in a way that is not in the tangible, right? It's not in our third dimensional experience. It's above that.
Yeah.
And this is why I think so many people are finally opening up to these ideas and concepts of star beings or galactics or multidimensional living and past lives. And it's all interrelated, because there's so much more beyond our periphery, but we are now tapping into it. And so many people have been using different methods, you know, from the beginning of recorded time to connect in with that energy. Meditation, of course, being the primary one, but there are so many different ways. And ultimately, all of them are simply tools to connect us back to that inner sense of knowing and remembering that we are part of something larger, and we are part of all of these different energies.
Yeah.
And then again, I love this word flavor, because it's an energetic flavor, being able to go, oh, well, that's really interesting. I'm really curious about this whole concept of galactics and star seeds and planets and astrology. I'm going to go over there and play in that field for a little while. And so off you go, and you dance and you enjoy it. And by playing, I mean, you know, spending time doing research, talking to people, getting readings, you know, looking at all the wonderful things that are on social media and the internet these days, and reading, and, you know, it's such a joyful time.
Yeah.
But as a channel, being able to connect with them, absolutely. You know, it's a really incredible energy. And the really neat thing for me is how different they are.
Yeah.
And every one of them, and I don't know why I find that surprising, because it's the same as, you know, human cultures. Every culture is different for its own reason. But at the core of it, of course, is the same energy, that there is this love. and learning to remember love, I think, is quite a journey for all of us.
Yes, I agree. And starting with loving ourselves. Like, I feel like that's a big part of it. And like, I just keep hearing, I mean, I've been hearing this for weeks, but even when you were talking, I just keep hearing like coming home. Like, I feel like this is a big journey that humanity's on right now, is coming home, like coming home to ourselves. And like you were saying, like loving ourselves first. And I think we're all yearning for that. I feel like we're all yearning for that, like deep in our hearts and deep in our souls. And like, they're just like saying, like, you can do it. Like, we're here helping, and you can do it, and you can find yourself again. And it feels like, yeah, finding yourself again is coming back to that love for yourself. And when I first started channeling them, like back in 2019, that's all they talked about was love. Like every single thing that came through was like love was in there, about love for yourself, like love for others, like love for the world, like nature, like all of that. Like that was always their message, which is so beautiful. And yeah, I think it's like a lot of it for a lot of us is just shedding all that programming. I just feel like they just want us to know, like, that they're here and that it's possible, like, to be ourselves.
In addition to that, one of the things that I've really found is it's like an acceptance of who you are in this experience. And of course, this reflects my own history, because everyone that channels, of course, you're bringing your experience, your history, your energy to the plate, right? It's like a filter of the energy and then coming through. But one of the things that I hear often is, and it's expressed differently depending on which group or which being is coming through, but there is always this enforcement of the fact that you're okay. You're not doing it wrong. You get to do it however you want. Take the pressure off. I'm oversimplifying it, but that's really the crux of the matter. It's, we're here, we love you, we support you. Have some fun. Take the pressure off. Enjoy the experiences. You're not doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Which I think is a vital message for perfectionists like me.
Yes. Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that goes hand in hand with being a nurturer and someone that takes care of others. But what a wild journey, though. My gosh, there's so many ways to experience all of these different things. It's I really do sometimes, I'm like, what's next? It's just a comfort level, where people have an experience, and of course the human ego wants to put a label on it for more understanding.
Yeah.
So some people, I think, will go towards Christ consciousness, perhaps because they've grown up with Christianity, and that feels comfortable. Some people, I think, go into it more from a spiritual bend, which is the self-improvement, self-love route. But ultimately, you see that same, like, this is something I say about anything, right? Where we all have a different interpretation, there's different energy, different ways of presentation. But somewhere in there for you is a thread that you will see repeated again and again and again. And if you follow that thread, then there's a line of truth there.
Yes.
That is consistent through everything. Yeah. Such as with all religions, there's like 3 or 4 tenets that you will see in all religions, and that for me is where my energy is gone. It's more into where is that thread that we see throughout everything. It is learning to love yourself. There is unconditional love. There is learning to love those around you, being respectful of yourself and the planet, and understanding that everything is interconnected.
Yes.
And I love that you see these teachings across the board.
Yeah.
And it is interesting because I think a lot of us in the spiritual community, I can't speak for all of us, but from my own personal experience, very similar. I was brought up with a very specific religion. I found it very confusing because there was so much that was not explained. It was just do it or punishment from the parents or the community. And it never worked for me. And so
No.
I did sort of the same thing. I went kind of like I 180'd. I was like, nope, not having it. But I do respect anybody's choice for where it is that they want to go with their belief system. And it is interesting to see that this is all coming together. And I like the description that you gave of that Christ consciousness and relating it to that, because I haven't really thought of it in that way before. And that makes a lot of sense. I think in the spiritual community, there is a propensity for a lot of us, because a lot of us come in with this knowing, or we have these incredible gifts that are opening up and these amazing abilities. And so we're kind of going from 0 to 60, right? And I find that personally, like I have this knowingness about so much, but then sometimes it's like, you know, my social skills are grade 5 level. Like, how do I make friends again? You know? Yes. So the spiritual people get together and it's like, oh my gosh, you go deep too? All right. And it's like, yes, down we go. But there is, you know, but then on the flip side, it is for someone like me coming into like astrological concepts, like I'll get the really complex stuff, but I don't get the basics. Like I still don't understand sun sign versus moon sign and all of that jazz. But again, that was my own experience, kind of like religion for me, where it was presented in a way that never made any sense. And it was just like, this is what it is, take it or leave it. Not everybody is in a particular way. So I find it very interesting. And I love that that has become part of your life, but in your own unique way. And that it is really pulling in the energy from the source, which of course is the stars and the planets.
Yeah.
And that to me makes so much more sense than the other astrology that I've seen. So do you find that you are getting one particular energy that comes forward, or do you get sort of a blended, like maybe Mercury comes with Jupiter and comes with Saturn, or is it just the one that comes in?
I find it's like, it'll kind of depend on the person, but there's usually like at least like a few planets that will come in, like maybe 2 or 3. Sometimes there's been more for some people, like just depending on kind of what's been going on with them. But I don't find like, trying to think, like I've never really noticed the planets like pairing up together to come in.
I'd be like, so curious, because I'd be like, I want to talk to everybody.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's it. Like, and if, you know, anyone, like, I don't know if anyone's ever asked me this before, but if someone were to say like, oh, can you tell me like if Uranus has anything to say to me? Like, I would love to, okay, Uranus, like, what would you like to say? And then just see what comes. Like, I'm always open to that. Like, it's fun. Like, it's real. It's okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's fun. Like,
no, I think that's a beautiful way to express the energy. And I love that. And I really relate to that, because I'm so fascinated as a upcoming client who will be getting a reading shortly after this broadcast. I find it really fascinating, because it's everybody channels in such a unique way. And everybody's story is different. And I love talking about this, because it gives me an insight into what you're doing and the type of work and the energy that you get to bring forward. But also it's giving me a bit of a mirror to myself to say, oh, is this something I could try? Or that's interesting compared to, you know, the way that I've been doing stuff myself. And I really love the idea that you are able to have an actual conversation. Because for me, it's very different. It's kind of like I get one, or I get a blended voice, and it's a message. And I feel often like I'm a scribe. And I am literally with some of the art, because the energy comes through and it goes into light codes, which go into the art. And it's very specific to whatever group. But before I was channeling galactics, I was working with angelics, and I was also working with elementals. And that was a very different experience. So do you, in your own sort of progression as you've been going through, are you finding that the energies are presenting themselves to you and sort of saying, hey, we need to have an expression, we need to work with you, we need to work with your clients? Or is it more of you going forward and saying, okay, now I want to try this?
That's a good question. Because it's interesting if I think about, like you were talking about the evolution, because when I first started doing the sessions, I had the planets coming through, but I also had like a lot of people's like loved ones coming through.
Oh.
Which is cool. But now I'm finding it's kind of tilting more to the planets and the galactic guides and the galactic energy side. So not that they still do come through, but I'm finding not as much. Like it's almost like the energy steering me more back to my galactic origin. That's what I feel like. My other lives, like as a galactic, well, I mean, we're all galactics. That's a whole other story, but you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So I feel like it's like I'm hearing home. It's like the energy steering me kind of more home. And it feels like I just really feel like the galactic energy is, I don't know if you find this, but I feel like more and more it's coming online. And it's like they really want to help us. Like they really want to help humanity, the galactics, even more so than they have been. I mean, they've done so much for us already in terms of helping, but it feels like it's kind of steering me more to kind of that galactic energy piece as opposed to like the loved ones who are kind of popping up a lot at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like what's happening is because I'm getting more intentional and I'm getting more open to it and I'm sort of quieting like external stuff, then the stuff that's wanting to come through is coming through. So I didn't say, okay, Sirius, like, what would you like me to say? No, all of a sudden, like he appeared in my dream and then I started channeling him last week. So like he kind of showed up that way. I feel like I'm open and because I've put more of that intention out there, then they're just kind of popping up and appearing. And I feel like there's going to be more coming. Like just this feeling I have that more are going to be popping up.
Yeah, I feel that too. And I find that there is an openness happening, not just within what we would maybe call a spiritual community, for lack of another word, but in humanity in general, as people are beginning to understand that there is much more available to them than they ever understood, and are starting to feel, because of course, and I talk about this often, but for me it's like a core belief for me, is the duality of our experience here. So we've had this very dark, compressed, rigid, controlled experience, but not known it. And now a lot of people are beginning to understand that that's what's been going on for a long time. And some people are, not too happy about it. And other people are like, yeah, okay, well, this is kind of the way it's been and I'm comfortable there and I'm just going to hang out. And other people are exploring a little bit and shifting around. And I find that the people that are sort of exploring and shifting around are becoming a little more aware of our innate gifts, mm-hmm. and that we have so much more to us than we ever knew. I mean, there's the old adage about, human uses 1% of their brain. Well, imagine if it's not your brain, because now we understand there is the brain heart energy connection as a being, that we are the spirit embodied within the physical, but there's so much more. So it's not like it used to be 15, 20 years ago when, it was like psychic was a bad word. Now people say spiritual or psychic, and it just means that you have these awarenesses of the alternate vibration, if you want to put it that way, that you can feel and sense and connect in a way that you weren't able to previously. Yeah. And so more and more people are opening up to this idea of being able to sense, and that it's okay to maybe have a sensation of telepathy, or to have a sensation of presight or knowledge of prediction or channeling, or connecting with loved ones that have passed. That it's such an open space now.
Yeah.
So we are coming from that really super dense, heavy energy and opening up into this place of expansion. And as we do that, seeing that more across the board, and even within the spiritual community, like you're saying, like it used to be a particular way and now it's opening up and you have more coming to you, and now it's gone very galactic, and it's like infinite, and it's such an exciting place to be.
It is.
And I'm really enjoying connecting with people that are having that journey, but also being able to reflect it back through their experiences with the people that come to them.
Yeah. However I can serve people to help people who want to be their true selves and live their truth is like the greatest thing in the world to me. There's nothing more special to me than when I see people like throwing off the shackles and the chains and everything that's binding them to like programming or their old life, and just like coming out like their arms out and just saying like, this is me and this is who I am, the end. And this is how I'm going to live my life. There's nothing that lights my heart up more.
So that's excellent. So for those of you that are on the YouTube video, don't forget to click on the description button. That's where all the goodies are. So if you see a down arrow or 3 dots, click it. There's good stuff in there. Thank you so much, Kate, for coming on and hanging out with me today and having this great conversation. You've given me so much to think about. And I've always, not only am I going to get a reading now, but I have like 101 questions still. So you'll have to come back on the show again.
I would love to. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun. It was really great.
Yeah, me too. What a great conversation that was. If you would like to learn more about Kate and her offerings, do check out kateshantz.com and check out the show notes from the podcast.tanyakucey.com. And thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate your support and your time, your comments, your shares, and your likes. And if you want to support me or the channel or more of this type of work and interview, please consider donating. There is a link in the description and also on the main channel page. Thank you so much. I am Tanya for Women Working with Light, and I will see you next time.